And starting off our videos today, we're going to talk about Darby Allin, a mud show assaulter. Darby Allin is one of the up and coming wrestlers in the new AEW wrestling organization that seems to be built off of mud show wrestling, also barbaric wrestling, a lot of blood and guts, and protecting assaulters. Now, instead of using the R word in his videos, we're just going to call a lot of the people who work with AEW assaulters, because we know that on YouTube, using the R word can get your video taken down because some people are just triggered, and that's understandable because they have actually dealt with what Darby Allin has done to his ex-girlfriend. So before we get into the accusations as they were quoted by Darby Allin's girlfriend, we're also going to go through just getting to know who Darby Allin is, where these accusations came from, and also we'll cover how the dirt sheet, non-journalistic inside wrestlers, insiders of wrestling, cover the Darby Allin assault. Now, as many of us know, there was little to no coverage at all. All of this was brought back into the forefront by the woman that has accused Darby Allin for over the last 2 years of being an assaulter. Darby Allin has not said anything publicly about this since yesterday, and he didn't even say anything public about it a year ago when he was taken off the AEW television program. The only thing that we know is from a lot of the internet wrestling community is that there is a Reddit post that says that he showed Tony Khan his text messages. Now, I don't know about you, but text messages just do not constitute that Darby Allin is not an assaulter. Because like we all know, you can delete text, you can take away text, but you cannot delete how someone feels. And as we also know, no one just comes out of the blue and accuses you of assaulting them. This is something that has been going on for years, and we're just now being privy to it over the last 2. So how did Darby Allin, a mud show assaulter, escape these accusations? We'll go through and look at what the IWC wrestling journalists, you have to understand I'm putting quotations because these guys are not journalists. They're just white guys who defend an all-elite white wrestling television program. So we're gonna bring some eyes to how these guys are basically protecting not just the R words, not just assaulters, but also the P word as well. There are a lot of questionable people on this program. So why is it still allowed? And why are they still allowed? Especially in an era where we're told that people such as Darby Allin will be canceled once we find out that they are an R word or an assaulter. But instead, Darby Allin has not been canceled. So we're going to go through and speak to why that is the case, what is set to happen next, and what can we all do to make sure people like Darby Allin are not propped up as someone that we should give a crap about. So you can go on Twitter and search up Hawley, Hawlee, and you will be able to see the accusations that she has accused him of. Now, right now, I am on the Twitter page of one of the biggest douchebags that is all about AEW, Sean Ross Sapp. of Fightful.com. Now, admittedly, I've never read or even entertained any of this guy's crap. As you can see, what he posts is a lot of bull. So, he's upset with WWE for releasing wrestlers. I've never seen NFL fans, NBA fans, Major League Baseball fans, National Hockey League fans berate a company for doing business. But what I have seen is people berate the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, the NHL for having assaulters. Darby Allin is an assaulter. Like I said, he's really the R word. We'll get to why in just a second. But I just want to bring attention to guys like Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful.com. Because when this news broke, and we'll get to the Dave Meltzers and Brian Alvarez, they also did not cover this story at all. We wonder why. But here is what they cover. Raw and SmackDown want Adam Cole, and Adam Cole's contract is up soon. Who gives a damn? Adam Cole is another white vanilla midget who will make no difference in who watches wrestling. These are people that WWE released. If I was to ask anyone who watched wrestling back in the early 90s or even the late 2000s who these people are, none of them would be able to name them. But this is what we cover. But let's scroll down, because the outrage over WWE practicing business was very, very overwhelming. So this happened yesterday. About at the time, we'll show you what Sean Ross Sapp was releasing as he pretended to be so outraged that the WWE practiced business in releasing superstars that no longer serve them any purpose. These are the same people who complain that WWE hoards all the talent. But now, because WWE has decided that AEW is mud show wrestling, that there's no need to hoard talent of guys who mud show wrestle. No one gives a damn. So, what do guys like Sean Ross Sapp need to do? They have to keep telling you WWE is such a horrible place. Despite the fact that WWE has done everything AEW has promised to do. WWE has gone to a more sports field. WWE has more diversity. We're not going to even talk about just who is their champions, because if you can see for yourself, most of their champions are black. But not just that, they also have a number of black wrestlers who are just making things happen, because the New Day aren't champs. You still have people like Nakamura. You have Asuka's. You have Nia Jax's. So these are people who are not champions, who are black or either people of color. And they are thriving in the WWE. When you think about the people of color that are thriving in AEW, you quickly move on from the subject, because it is a must show all elite white wrestling program. But that doesn't mean anything for Sean Ross Sapp. So here's what Mr. Sapp was tweeting about yesterday around the time that Darby Allin was trending for being a sexual assaulter, an R word. I'll take you back 24 hours ago when the topic first broke. He tweeted out this, a gif of Andre 3000 from Outkast. He tweeted out this. What the hell? He's definitely a guy who pretends to be liberal or progressive because he likes to back white supremacist ideas and a program that is steeply based in assault, R-word, and P-word. We'll get to those in upcoming episodes. His hatred is for all to see. He really thinks a guy this small will move people to watch TV. That's no diss to Adam Cole, but he's just a little kid in terms of how he looks. So, same thing can be said for Darby Allin. These Manila Vidgets, I like that. These Manila Vidgets don't move the needle. So this is what Sean Ross Sapp was tweeting about. He is so excited for AEW Rampage as Darby Allin trends for being an R word. So as you can see, there was no coverage on Darby Allin being an assaulter. It makes you wonder, are these people out to cover the news in wrestling, or are they only out to cover bad news in WWE? I'll let you be the decider of that. Let's take a look. And before we move on, let's take a look at some of the comments and shout out some of the people who came at Sean Ross piece of shit Ross, whatever the guy's name is, for his blatant disregard for a story on AEW. Shout out to Rizzo, Soy Boy shit, and Aaron Herrera, Jimenez. Shut up. Good job, fellas. We will highlight people who stand up against pieces of shit like Sean Ross Sapp. This guy really believes Manila Vidgets will bring back people like me who are black to watching wrestling. It will not, you white boy, soy boy. So he's retweeting people saying, I don't even know who this is, and that's disrespectful, and no one cares. But not saying anything about an assaulter or R word? Amazing. You be the judge. You be the judge. This got all kinds of news from these people as if it was the end of the world. If you're subscribed to this channel, you're an asshole, an asshat, and a dimwit. You will not bring wrestling back. This face will not bring wrestling back. And that those ideas also will not. Because this is a prime example why people like me stop watching wrestling altogether. Because AEW sucks and Jim Cornette rocks. Yeah, we're here to make you mad. This channel is not for AEW lovers. It's for AEW haters, those who want to hear AEW be criticized, and those who want the truth. I'm aiming this channel at 3 people. I don't care how you feel. I will not talk about WWE on this channel other than to prove the hit job that has been put out here by white supremacy-like white boys in the same way that we saw with the last president. I'm not even gonna waste too much time on guys like Brian Alvarez or Dave Meltzer because I feel as if that is very obvious, painfully obvious, that those guys are AEW shields. But we will pay a lot of attention on this channel to Mr. Sean Ross Sapp because he is the latest in a line who are trying to use AEW to not only build his career, but also WWE by reporting everything so egregiously negative in a way that makes it seem like they hate their fans and they hate wrestling. When a white guy like this doesn't understand that WWE has turned a page. They're advertising towards people like me, to black people, to African Americans, to immigrants, because we're the new face of America. And we deserve to see ourselves represented in wrestling. But for white boys like this, and the millions of white boys that look just like this, who expect their world champions to be all elite white, WWE does not fit with them. They'll say things like, Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, John Cena, The Undertaker. But then you'll watch a channel that had a 50-year-old in Chris QAnon Jericho become his first world champion over Adam Hangman Page, a young up-and-coming Manila Midget. So no, he wouldn't have got the ratings, but AEW won't get the ratings anyways. So why would they use a 50-year-old man to be their champion? They say, oh, that makes sense. He's giving them exposure. Have you seen the last Jericho match? Have you seen what Jericho looks like? Have you seen what Jericho sounds like? Did you see the NBA game where Jericho was on right after the NBA game this past year? Did you see how those mostly black people and white people who are into black entertainment, who can stand to see black people succeed, did you see how they responded to Chris Jericho? Did you see how the mainstream media responded to seeing so much show wrestling on their TV? Jericho trended for hours because no one wanted to see that on their TV. So let's get back to the video. I'm gonna show you the tweet. Give me just a second. Holly Cronwell, first name that pops up on Twitter. Scroll down. The hardest thing I've ever written. What is the date on that? June 18th, 2020. We'll take a read. This was written June 18th, 2020, during this speaking out movement that's caught Matt Riddle in a lot of trouble, Velveteen Dream fired, and many others. It's been really hard to formulate this. I've always been afraid because people wouldn't believe me or say, oh, that's not that bad. She was right. There have been many AEW fans who have gotten underneath her comments, and we will give those people what they want. They will be seen here on YouTube for the assholes that they are, for the vile, disgusting human beings that they are. I just want people to know, if you support this wrestling, this is what you're supporting: the abuse of victims of the R word. Thinking of it makes me relive so many bad things. Between 2016 and 17, I had an on-again, off-again with another wrestler. He ruined her mental health on a lot of things she's still struggling with. He talked about her family as if they were every problem she had in life. He got upset and screamed and yelled and treated her like his personal punching bag. While she does go on to state, he never laid a hand on me, just mental. It got to the point where she was so disassociated and was walking on eggshells. She didn't say much because if she didn't reply how Darby Allin, a mud show assaulter, wanted her to, he'd get upset and he would scream at her. He told her if she didn't do things he wanted, he was going to leave her. She lived in constant fear that if one bad thing, don't listen to one thing, don't do everything that hate someone asks of me. He threatened to leave her if she didn't have sex with him or do sexual things and perform sexual acts with him. I'll say that again. He also threatened to leave if she didn't have sex with him or do sexual things and perform sexual acts with him. Took her a long time to realize that threatening someone to have sex with you isn't consent, it's rape. Those are her words, YouTube. Do not strike my channel. So let's look up the definition of rape. So here's the important sentence here. There is a definition that was updated in 2012. States, this definition also includes instances in which the victim is unable to give consent because of temporary or permanent mental or physical incapacity. Let's go back. She states, and I quote, "He would also threaten to leave me if I didn't have sex with him or do sexual things and perform sexual acts with him. It took me a long time to realize that threatening someone to have sex with you isn't consent, it's rape." She struggled with this to this day and have so many fears around sex and intimacy. At this time, in June 18th of 2020, Holly Cromwell stated, "I will not be naming any names because I don't feel comfortable doing so. I just want to show that this never broke me and that I am stronger for going through something I shouldn't have had to. And we're glad that you spoke out, Ms. Cromwell. We want you to know that there are men, especially men who do not prescribe to the all-elite whiteness of AEW, that are glad that you took the stance to speak out." These are just some posts that she has on her Twitter. It's good to see she's in good spirits, especially considering what we're going to read, what were a lot of the responses to this young woman's allegations and accusations that she was physically harmed and mentally abused. So a year ago, she stated these claims. I want to go to the first tweet she sent out before reading the next ones. She stated, "Woke up instantly, saw something that made my blood boil. Gonna go back to bed, then address it when I wake back up with a level head." This was hours before she would send out the tweets that again would shock the wrestling world at 3:55 a.m. A little bit later, after waking up, what we can only say from that nap, at 8:56 a.m., Holly once again addressed the R-word that had happened to her. She wrote, and I quote, YouTube, "I'm tired. I'm so fucking tired and I don't care anymore. Darby Allin abused me." "He abused me, and I'm tired of being called a liar by fans who have no idea the shitty person he really is. Somehow no one remembers. I'll never forget how you treated me like shit. She went on to share the post that we just read from June 18th, 2020. That wasn't it. Also, for everyone saying his ex said he changed, his are attacking me, saying my rape is invalid because it didn't happen like hers, and completely disregarding the fact I was under his thumb and stuck with abuse. We'll go back to this definition of rape brought to us by the United States Department of Justice. Updated January 6, 2012. Isn't that just ironic? January 6th, because that's what the AEW fans are. A bunch of January 6ers. I'll read the entire little quick paragraph. I won't read it all. For the first time ever, the new definition includes any gender of victim and perpetrator, not just women being raped by men. Also recognizes that rape with an object can be traumatic as penile and vaginal rape. This definition also includes instances in which the victim is unable to give consent because of temporary or permanent mental or physical incapacity. Furthermore, because many rapes are facilitated by drugs or alcohol, the new definition recognizes that a victim can be incapacitated and thus unable to consent because of ingestion with drugs or alcohol. Do you think this guy does drugs and alcohol? I mean, honestly, look at him. Do you think that he had ever given her drugs or alcohol and participated in assaulting her? I do. Darby Allin, a mud show assaulter. So after sharing this, let's just read what Priscilla Kelly said to her, because I think this is also important to get on tape. Priscilla Kelly said, "You should really delete that tweet. I know you didn't name names. However, it's not hard to figure out who you're referring to. Let me get personal here." And I'm not going to read that, because someone trying to downplay how someone else feels is something that you all can go on to Holly Cromwell's page and see for yourself. She stated that this was out of context, and it's not right to potentially bury someone with a lack of context and information just to gain sympathy for yourself or relevancy. It may have been a bad relationship, but there is no room for you to make sentiments considering it to be, especially considering you were the one begging him to be with you after breaking up numerous times. Understand what you're doing when you make statements like this and what you're talking about. There are two sides to this, and I know who I am married to. While he may not be perfect, he is not a rapist or sexually abusive. Let's go back to the definition provided to us by the Department of Justice. Rape can also be instances in which the victim is unable to give consent because of temporary or permanent mental or physical incapacity. Let's go back to what Holly stated, how she felt. She stated he threatened to leave if she didn't have sex with him or do sexual things and perform sexual acts. Took her a long time to realize that threatening someone to have sex with you isn't consent. It's the R word. She struggles with this to this day and still has fears around sex and intimacy. That sounds like someone who maybe at the time may have been temporary mentally incapacitated, but now is suffering from permanent mental incapacity. So based on that, the definition for rape fits this case, which again makes Darby Allin a mud show assaulter. So before we move on from Holly Cromwell's page, once again, this was reported at 8:56 a.m. Let's read the comments, because these people deserve to be shown off just as much as she does. Here's Chirac Kadar. He said mean things to me, so I want to ruin his life. Liked by 174 people. Let's click on that. Now let's give those 174 people what they would like. If you see someone you know, please let them know that you saw that they support rape. These are AEW fans. These are why, if you're an AEW fan, I don't want to hear it's not all of us. This is who you are. If you can see, these are mostly white males who we can all guarantee do not have sex on a regular. Unbelievable. NXT Wrestling said innocent until proven guilty. Here's another white guy who probably participated in the January 6th. Great comment here by Spired. If Darby Allin were in WWE, everyone defending him in these replies would be calling for his head. Very true. Demented Harley stated, "Do you have evidence? I'm not calling you a liar. I just want to see your proof." Good comeback, Justin. What proof do you want? Good comment here. The Cole would defend their favorites and attack you for daring to tell the truth. Do not be worried, Holly. There are those of us that could support you standing up and telling the truth. Here's consistency. These guys are, as we all know, a lot of incels because they have wrestling people as their profiles. They use wrestlers' names, wrestler pretend burner accounts. A lot of these guys have never had sex, never will have sex, or they just haven't had sex in maybe 5 to 10 years. So they're what you would call incels. They have sex with their hands a lot. They may participate, and this is nothing against anyone that does sex work, but they may participate in a lot of sex work, whether heterosexual or homosexual. A lot of these guys are very homoerotic. You can just tell. And here's a perfect example of a guy who kind of fits that mold. Let's just click on him and pick on him. So this comes up 2 weeks before AEW Rampage. And who the hell is CM Punk? I mean, these white guys are like really convinced that that this is gonna bring. I mean, look at this guy. He thinks this is gonna bring people back to making wrestling great again. You know, that's what they think. Ain't no Rock walking through that door. Ain't no Stone Cold walking through that door. And here's another incel. So again, he puts the black man on the cover to pretend like he's black, but he's really a white guy. Doesn't take much scrolling through. You feel me? To realize he's a white guy. And we'll also do one on Brody Lee and the death of Brody Lee, the mysterious death of Brody Lee. We'll look at Brody Lee's last match. We'll also look at the fact that Brody Lee was sick during the pandemic and was basically killed by AEW, and that has all been swept under the rug. So there's a lot of things to stay tuned for here, folks. We're gonna get to it. We're gonna expose these people for the sick, low life people that they are. Yeah. But our first step is just to highlight the lack of attention that this has. So let's do a quick Google search. Let's say Darby Allin accusations. Let's be nice. E-Wrestling News has a story on that. I've never heard of E-Wrestling News, so shout out to them. At least they covered it. As you can see, that's it. The Overtimer. Shout out to them. If you ain't messing with them, go ahead and start messing with them, because they're one of the few that I've seen. And as you can see, No DQ was one of the first. I think No DQ was the first to report on this. So if you're not messing with No DQ, they're not biased. They're down the middle. They'll report whatever on whoever, and that's the way things should be. As you can see, Ringside News, that is not a current. That is not current. That is from last year. Same thing with Sports Addict. They did one of yesterday. So Darby Allin accused of abusing independent wrestler. Check them out. Wrestling Republic, independent wrestler accuses Darby Allin of abusing her. I would go so far as to say not just abuse, but assault and also the R word. As you will notice, let's just type the big time people, what culture wrestling, who has made their name all off of WWE. The secret reason why AEW can beat WWE. There is nothing on What Culture to talk about Darby Allin being accused of being an R word. Not shocking. Let's go to Wrestling Inc., another big wrestling site who loves to bash the WWE. That's E-Wrestling. Nothing from Wrestling Inc. Let's go to Fightful with Sean Piece of Shit Ross Sapp. Oh, of course, nothing. He's a fan. Why would there be anything on there? So let's just put Darby Allin News. And let's see who pops up. Let's switch it to news. PW Mania. Good job. CBR. If you folks aren't following these people, start following these people that are gonna actually give you the news. Stop going on to Wrestling Inc. Stop doing all that stuff. K-Side Seats, they did not cover the Darby Allin situation at all. As you can see, these are the stories that pop up. The first two deal with the news we got yesterday, the first three. But then after that, there's nothing. It makes you wonder who's protecting Darby Allin. But I mean, of course, we don't have to wonder something like that. Let's just go back here. And type in one name. Thank you so much, Google. There's the protector. When you're spending up daddy's money, you got all the money you need to do whatever you want. Great comment here by Bro Cage. Why y'all pushing an abuser? Even WWE fired Velveteen, but I guess white people love Darby Allin. So in honor of these last few seconds of this video, here's a great video by AEW Watches. Fair use. Just gonna show a little bit of this. And this is just great stuff. We'll also talk about AEW Watches on this channel. Great account on Twitter. If you're not following it, you should be following it. I mean, this is the stuff that these guys tell you to watch, you know. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Broke the guy's neck. Yeah, I think we're all like Mike Tyson. You know, why is this stuff on air? Who knows? I mean, you know, it, so as we can see, there is nothing in here about addressing the accusations placed against Darby Allin. This white guy here is just gonna ignore it because he's running an all elite white wrestling. And we'll have more videos on that as well. All elite whites. But as of today, just remember that Darby Allin, a mud show assaulter, an R word. Let's call it what it is. And if you don't think this guy is an R word, you're full of shit. There he is. The R word, the assaulter, Darby Allin. When will AEW stop these kinds of things? Who knows? Maybe TNT will have to. Like and subscribe if you look for more content like this. Depending on how many views we'll get, we'll do our next video on a guy who says he wants to R-word Sasha Banks. That's right. You can figure out who that is. We'll delve deeper into those comments and how he's been booked since being an admitted R-word. No one put any accusations on this guy. He put them on himself. But as of today, just let's not forget that Darby Allin is the R-word. Darby Allin is a mud show assaulter. Darby Allin is allowed to wrestle on national TV every week with these allegations not just hanging over his head, but being brought back up relentlessly by his accuser, because obviously if she had something that she was lying about, she would have stopped by now. Because I'm pretty sure with the threat of this guy's daddy's money, she probably has been having a more horrible time than a lot of the assholes that we saw in those comments. If you know those people in those comments, disown them now. Family, friends, neighbors, whatever. These are people that will watch your daughter be R-word and then say, where's the proof? Darby Allin, a mud show assaulter. AEW, a wrestling full of people who have been accused of all kinds of assaults. But because it is a cult, there is no screaming for this to stop. At some point, it has to be brought to the table. Like and subscribe for more videos so that we can get to the bottom of what is really going on in AEW.